Welcome back to Occultists Anonymous. You know what we're about to do. We're about to play games, tell stories, have a good time. Thank you so much for joining us. We are in the midst of a tale in the ninth world. After how many? I hear eight mighty civilizations have come and gone. So many years in the future. So many things have changed. And so many things have yet to change. And we're about to join our intrepid protagonists once again. But before we do that, as always, we'd like to express our gratitude for those of you who watch, those of you who support, those of you who are so generous to provide us with the funds to make sure that we can deal with our copious and frequent technological issues. So, thank you to Roll20 for supporting us. Thank you to Monty Cook Games for making Cypher System. And thank you to all of our Patreons for shelling out their hard-earned cash. And those of you are Adele, Ethernalis the Mad, Al, Alex, Alexander Williams, Alpha Wolf 2803, Alzred, Bernie, Buck Gregory, Chris Handforth, Doc, Emil, Fuse82, George, I'm the Real 06, James Winfield, John Fitzgerald, Josh Drew, Camo, Cat Feathers, Klaus. Ooh, this is a good one. Liturgical entomology. I think that's how you pronounce that last word, right? It's entomology, right? All right. Not etymology?
Entomology.
Entomology. Oh, yeah, that must be it. Thank you. Yes, I like that. Okay, great. Entomology. Liturgical entomology. Yeah, okay, great. Wonderful. Long live the Queen. Melissa. Michael. Milo V3. Ms. Grumpy. Moku. Mozart D minor. Other Guy. Perry. Food. Porter. Puppeteer. Riafio. Ryan. Sean Kelleher. Let's get the siblings going. Secrets spoken in silent solitude. Sheksara. Thomas Vogel. Toast. Vincent Hamilton. Vortex Falcon 00. What's a circle? Why gender when you can serve the Iron Pyramid? And Sultan Kamini. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. So, with that gratitude expressed, now comes when, hopefully, or I hope that you all might be able to remind me of where we are in the story.
Oh man, if you don't remember, this is going to be a really awkward episode.
I can provide details, but I'm trying to just make sure it isn't me at first, right? Like, go right ahead.
The only thing Faye remembers
Mm-hmm.
is that there's a whole bunch of things with Convergence logos, and everything before that doesn't matter.
Faye's having a bad time.
Faye's
Faye
having a
remembers
not great time.
red going over the vision.
We met with the I think we just resorted to calling them the Elves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Because they don't appear to have any sort of cultural memory of who they are as a people. So
That's right.
possibly that's something that we can restore, which is something we'll get to in a second. But we met with them, we talked with them. Vet did a great job of doing a mind meld and allowing them to communicate at the speed of thought instead of the speed of their very slow energy expenditure. Reuven gave it a shot and then had the guilt of the world crash down upon them. Whether or not that's accurate or true in any way, let's not focus on that. The point is, they're a sad boy.
That's right.
I think we did determine that Reuven realized maybe not my fault because it wasn't conjunction, it was convergence.
Yeah.
But that was a secondary thing, I think.
Yeah, that was a secondary thing. We got a little bit more info about what the ice scream is.
That's right, yes.
And that apparently these people failed its challenge and thus were slowed. ensorcelled of some sort.
That's right. Something.
It would be great if that was the role that I made, that I could understand them, what was happening to them. But I beefed it, needing only to roll a 3 or higher, and I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you knew it was a chronic effect.
Yeah. Oh, it's a chronic. It'll slow you down.
That's right.
Then we ventured back. We were welcomed into one of the River-Manses.
Mm-hmm. Creek-Manses, yes.
Creek-Manses, yes, sorry.
No worries.
And began investigating the sort of bookshelf full of hard drives.
Yes.
Which, as Drew touched on, have caused a screen to pop up with a Convergence logos, which is some sort of bad guy tech cult that Faye was raised in.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I got out of that scene.
Yeah, our little guy here doesn't think they're
Yeah, thinks they're the good guys.
doesn't remember much about them, but remembers them fondly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Does not remember any negative experience with them.
And that's we kind of left off where the rest of the Creek-Manses had sort of flotilla all together. And there's going to be like food and things.
We did learn our host's name is Lon.
Yep.
Lon.
And the Robin is named Shore.
That's
Sure.
right. Mm-hmm. This
Sure.
one is named Shore.
Yep.
The other two things that you learned were, in the course of investigating those hard drives, right, on the shelf, activating them, well, Faye was indisposed, perhaps in frustration, right, or shock, whatever, there's lots of legitimate emotions that Faye was certainly experiencing in that moment. Reuven went through them and decided, let's take an accounting of this stuff, because that's what you do, right? All right, let's figure out what we got. Let's organize these things, because Lon has no idea what's going on with this. And two that stood out to Reuven in particular in the course of that cursory review were a protocol describing delayed senescence and restored fertility, which implied that perhaps these people had been put in a state of an unaging state, and they had some means by which they could potentially restore their fertility, which would hypothetically suggest that they came here to eventually produce children. And that might imply why you don't see any children around. So yeah, that's where we are. You all know how to access those hard drives if you want, and a party's about to start because the flotilla's coming. But they didn't describe Lon and Shore didn't describe anything about the party.
Sure.
But Shore seems as upbeat as usual.
Sure.
Well, actually, more upbeat than before.
He's very happy to have a name.
Yeah, that's quite true. Yeah, you would perceive what seems like happiness.
Oh, we also
And-
taught him the concept of friendship and
Yes.
laughter, or
Lon, you taught Lon. You reminded
Right.
Lon why people laugh. Not so much Lon hadn't laughed, remembered laughing, in a long time, but didn't remember why, like what the impulse is. So yeah, that's right. I know,
Wild.
right? Wild. What kind of situation is this? These elves. And just as a reminder for everyone, or for those who are jumping in this episode, what these elves look like. They have alabaster skin, otherwise highly variable in their hair color and texture. And their eyes are robin's egg blue, and it's in their entirety. The sclera, the pupil, the iris, all of it is just one shade, like an eladrin or like an Easter egg put inside of their skull.
I thought Aladdin had brown.
So what'd you say?
I said I thought Aladdin had brown eyes.
Eladrin? Really?
Aladdin.
Aladdin. Yeah, that's right. Watch, we're gonna get in the flotilla, and everyone's gonna be wearing an open tunic and voluminous pants.
Look, as long as we stay one step ahead of Convergence.
That's right.
Almost got you there, Drew.
Fuck you.
Podcast folks, Drew was taking a sip of water, almost did a full spit take.
Oh god, I did that at the zoo when I was there. We were in front of the horses.
Oh yeah.
And like I was drinking a hot chocolate, and this child walked behind me with his sister and goes, "Lexi, that horse is never going to love you." And I just hot chocolate coming out of my nose.
Brutal.
Just so matter of factly.
Oh, that's so good.
Incredible.
What were the relative ages of these
I
children?
wasn't looking at them. They were walking behind me. But
Okay.
the boys sounded young, like maybe 8 or 9.
Okay, yeah. That's fantastic. Oh. Harsh truth of the
Old
world.
enough to know how to be mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just completely deadpan.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there's a gathering happening.
Yeah, I'm happy to narrate the gathering, or at least the beginning
Yeah.
of it if you like.
I think that probably sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. So, I would like to assume then that at Lawn and Shore's ushering, you all put the things aside that you're messing with and exit through the door that opened in the side where we stopped the session last time,
Mm-hmm.
to go across the platform into what seems like a larger room for this particular Creek-Manses. And then you notice that there are open doors on all edges. So in Lawn's Creek-Manses, there is one door at the end. You came in through one door, and then there was another on the opposite side, right? And there were stairs to go up. This particular Creek-Manses that you're connecting into, you go into, and then there are multiple doors branching off the sides. So they're like doors in all 4 walls of this interior room. It's slightly more vaulted on the inside, rounded. You don't see stairs. Go ahead. Was that true?
But it is basically another Creek-Manses. It's just slightly
Yes.
different design. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Slightly different design. And you can see people coming down hallways or pathways from what look like Creek-Manses connected to the openings in this room. But right now,
Some are
What is it?
designed to be interior, and some are designed to be exterior to the craft.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. So, some are designed to function like a connection between the other Creek-Manses, and other are designed to be the at the end. Yeah, if that's what you mean by exterior. Yes, at the exterior, like in graph theory, right? Exterior nodes versus interior nodes. That's exactly right. Great. So, you go in there, and there are like 3 people milling about, three elves there, and each of them have a yellow geode, and they're holding it in their hands. And if you remember how heavy the unripe ones were,
Mm-hmm.
either their lethargy is not impairing their physical strength, or they become less dense as they ripen.
And I'm trying to remember, because Shore mentioned to us the color of... They did different things, and I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
Yellow lets them sleep.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
that's right.
As they ripen, they become more edible, and you experience greater intensity of synesthesia. Tastes like purple, the relatively unripe ones. You haven't tasted a completely unripe one yet. You also would likely imagine that it's probably just a rock, and so you can't really eat it, but you could probably try, right?
Just crack it open and lick it.
Yeah, exactly. But the yellow ones, you haven't touched yet, but you would assume that they're probably soft. Everything is edible on it. And as you correctly said, Shore did tell you that they let them sleep for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks or every 2 weeks?
For 2 weeks. Yeah, they sleep for 2-week periods, but you haven't determined how long they stay awake between those 2-week
got it.
periods yet.
Okay.
Hasn't been discussed yet.
All right.
Yep. That's a thing you can easily learn, but you just haven't yet. So. All right, so these elves are there holding their yellow geodes as Lon comes in with you, and Lon brings you forward in their slow way and walks up to the elves and motions to all of you and says, experienced travelers are with us. And then Lon stops them before they ask questions and summons Shore over and says, "We know our names." And then Shore flies in their face, fluttering, and puffs up again, crinkled aluminum foil, and says, "This one is Shore." And they all look at him, and they nod. And then Lon turns to you all.
I'm Faye.
Oh, please.
And Vet.
And Reuben.
And you hear the three of them intone your names in slow synchrony as you say them. Or after you say them, I'm saying. After you say them. They look at Lon and they ask, "Are they here for sleep?" And then Lon turns to you as a kind of quartet and says, "I hadn't considered." How do you sleep?
We naturally sleep without assistance.
Damn. Way to brag.
I mean, Faye is presenting this as like clinically as possible.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like, nope.
I'm gonna go take a nap, actually. You know what? I'm a little tired. I'm gonna go take a
It's been a
nap.
long day.
That
Just
couch looks
15 minutes.
comfy.
Fuck,
Yeah.
Doze off while you're talking to them.
Look, I'm tired and upset. I really need to take a quick 20.
Yeah.
Lon asks. No, he doesn't ask. He said, "They say." Sleep without aid. I remember not when we last did.
And Reuben kind of like turns to these other folks, and we were looking in the other Creek-Man and found records, plans, data showing that you all are not meant to be as you are.
Please elaborate.
There are ways to restore functionality to your beings. There seemed to be data about, I mean, there was just like all sorts of stuff in there, like fertility and
Lots of stuff.
sleep was one of them.
Sleep was not one of them.
It was not one of them. Okay,
Sleep was
interesting.
not one of them.
Okay.
There was
Like,
stuff
it
like
might-
agriculture. Go ahead, Ash. Sorry.
I was saying it might come with senescence, like once their bodies are aging again, they might be able to rest without having to drug themselves or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's not an unreasonable suspicion.
Right.
Yeah, but it just wasn't described there. But
Right.
you hear about the aging, you heard about the
Right.
fertility, you saw like building farms, like
Right.
there was a bunch of conventional stuff for starting a civilization.
And I think Reuben just says that it seems that you all somehow were set up with the basis of forming a real civilization, and even your own bodily autonomy was part of that process.
They open their mouths slowly and close them in obvious shock.
Yeah.
And in an eerie unison, they ask, Can you restore these things?
We'd be happy to continue investigating the data and give our best shot.
Where did you find this information?
Is there one of these bookshelves in here?
Mm-hmm.
And Reuven will just go and pluck one out and plug it in.
Your eyes go wide. Or you know what happens? As you pull one off, Shore appears right behind you with the slot from the first room. Trying to give you an assist.
I don't so again, Reuven's not very good at talking to people, and he knows this. So he's trying to make it so he's not talking down. Because there's a lot of ways that this could feel like someone talking down to children, but it's this is I don't know that you did anything wrong here. This is some sort of process that was set up and seemed to be left you in the lurch in the middle of it. And so a lot of your sort of cultural amnesia almost seems to be based of almost being in stasis. So if we can start these processes, it's entirely likely that you'll begin to remember things. You'll begin to naturally sleep again. But I can't promise anything because I just don't know.
Quiet question to Faye. Could these guys be survivors? Locked away in a vault or something to try and outlive the fall of the last world?
And I think over top of that, Reuven also says, and it's entirely likely that if this process has any sort of catch-up mechanic, and it just sort of winces and leaves it hanging,
yes.
It could immediately kill you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have no idea what it would actually do.
We don't know what's gonna happen.
If we do them in the wrong order.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I could help you remember. I helped Juan remember his name.
You could give us our names?
Possibly. It worked for him.
We look at each other and nod excitedly. We want our names.
Okay. So we'll spend 3 int. And that will let me connect with these 3.
Mm-hmm. And they will consent.
Okay. And yeah, I'll just make the mind link with each of them and tell them I have connection to all of you, but it's difficult to speak all at once. So if we could take turns.
Yes, you hear them all accidentally do the opposite of what you just requested.
You go first, they all say at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And yeah, I'm just gonna go through, just start with the one most on the right, and
Okay.
I guess just start, because Long got his back after we've been chatting for a bit, and basically his mind sped up after being capable of communicating well.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start chatting with them. Try to find out what they know. Where do they live?
They remember a verdant field hillside. You get an image of might be a small child. It's kind of vague, right? Could be a short person or a small child. You get the vague sensory impression of barking, like maybe a puppy or a young dog, or some kind of animal that maybe sounds like that. The weird thing is this is vague. Like in some of the memories you got with Lon, they were distinct, but they were few and far between, right? Like Lon's memories were there and they were clear memories of something you could recognize, but Lon didn't remember the significance, and then you help them understand that, right? With this person, there are lots of memories, but they're much hazier. Like this person's personal memories have become an elaborate watercolor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the ones that I can guess at, I want to send back images of things that I know.
Ooh, cool.
Like,
Yeah.
I think this is a child and a dog, so I'm going to send them a kid I knew from town with their puppy.
Cool.
Just to sort of like, was it like this? And see if I can help them sharpen it a little bit.
Yeah, it comes into sharp relief almost immediately when you do that. When you give them an anchor point for this variety of impressions, it comes into relief. Like focusing the objective on a microscope.
Okay. And yeah, I know I wouldn't have frame for all of their things because I certainly wouldn't, but like anything that I think I know, I would try to help them sharpen.
Okay, yeah. So you sharpen what is a maybe 12 or 13-year-old child in our terms, right? A child either on the cusp of adolescence or who has just experienced the beginning of adolescence. Go ahead, subject.
Does said child look like them?
Yes.
Okay.
However, you don't see them in this image. So the one thing that's unclear here is if this is them or if this is their child. It could be either because of the resemblance. The dog looks like Good Boy. Now, there's all kinds of explanations for that, right? But it's gray, looks like it's a little bigger than it should be, lanky, and walks around with a tongue lolling out of their mouth. So,
Seeing
and
that, I would probably unintentionally think of Good Boy and the way that he spoke.
Ooh.
And then following that up with, we took him to Alcana, to the sky.
You get what feels like a mental intake of breath.
That would probably make her pause, realizing that I don't know that I should have done that, but also I wasn't consciously doing it, but just like, oh, well. Does any of that sound familiar?
They then try speaking when they realize they actually can, because at this point they were just being passive, right? They hadn't actually said anything. They were just walking through their memories and breathing them, and gratefully, of course, accepting your help in drawing them in the relief. But then they say, I grew up hearing tales. Of you feel like they're squinting at you in their mind. Tales of a jack who climbed a beanstalk of light and took a dog into the heavens.
Just kind of
Get your memories under control, ma'am.
They say, where did you come from again?
Yeah, that I'm gonna look at the rest of the folks and be like, so I want to know where we came from.
The stellar whale fall.
Please just throws up his head.
Yes, so
Ruven
Walks away a
already.
little bit.
Ruven already gave away some with Lon when they were connected. So
That's
it's
right.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah.
but Lon didn't dime you out.
That's true.
and Ruven didn't admit it, so that's fair.
That's right.
Like, we arrived in the whale fall.
And they say with slightly distracted attention, arrived in the whale fall. How? What? How? Where from? How much of the whale fall did you cross? And we don't have to roleplay that aspect, that confusion, but they repeat the same thing that Lon basically did. Like,
Yeah.
you know, how did you make it through the whale fall? What's going on with that?
Blade just sort of looks like he's chewing on a really big caramel.
I'm just gonna like turn to the rest and be like, should we just tell them?
Yep.
Just like, okay, yeah, we were in a desert. We were trying to help this dog, I think, make it back to his owner. And we got taken up in light and ended up here.
Somewhere between 500 and 5,000 years ago.
Such a lack of poetry. Describe it.
Been really quiet, by the way, Craig. I don't know if it's where you're sitting or something, but
They slowly sit down, like they can't stand anymore.
Yep.
And the lethargy has overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
And they stare straight ahead, and the telepathic connection is still there, but they do not seem non-compass mentis.
Mm-hmm.
They seem like they are not capable
I think Ruven.
of continuing a conversation. Sorry, what was that, Chris?
Yeah.
I think Ruven picks up on that and just quickly suggests to Lon that his friend should eat and sleep.
Lon says it's a bit early, but like kind of is trying to take the social cue from you. And leans down and says, I'm going to take you to the chambers. And they slowly nod, even more slowly, right? Like, if somebody is not in the throes of centuries of lethargy, right? They're still probably slow and when they're
In the throes
confused.
of having enjoyed St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, that's exactly it. So Lon buttons up their Patagonia jacket and takes them into the next room.
Yeah, and I'm still connected to the other two.
Yeah. You're also still connected to that one.
Yeah,
They're not, they're just kind of
no,
shocked.
that's fair. I just kind of told them that I'm your fairy tale.
Yep.
We didn't even get their name.
Nope.
Yeah.
The other two are still there though, because you said it was individual. So
Yeah, I'm gonna give each of them a short rundown on what that one just got.
Okay.
Just the reason they ended up like that is because they found out where we came from.
And then they would, of course, ask, where'd you come from? Right? You know, like, they're naive. And they're curious. It's been centuries since they met anybody else. So
I'm just gonna give them the shorthand of showing them us on the Amphalos when the confluence happens or whatever. And
when conjunction
Good Boy
occurs.
fading away, and then
Yeah.
us fading away.
You get the same thing. And it's comical because you can anticipate it. And it's so slow because they're so tired. Right? So you feel, of course, the slack-jawed expression in your mind. Right? And you see them sit down. Right?
So, yeah. Do you all know any of these stories?
They're not
Nothing, no.
not these three.
Shattered their brains a little bit. Sorry.
They're having a hard time.
Faye has the greatest "I told you so" expression on his face right now.
I think, as this scene, I don't know how much more you wanted to go into it.
No, go right ahead. I'm happy for you all to
I was
take
gonna say,
direction however you prefer. Yeah.
Kind of how, plus or minus Vet telling us however much, like Reuben would suggest that we perhaps take the time to try and give our best effort while these people are taking a nap for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so that they do not awaken to the same sort of uncomprehendable sort of revelations.
Yep. So more people start coming in.
Yep.
And I think I said before there were 50 people among the 6 Creek-Manses.
Mm-hmm.
Or 10, sorry. 10 Creek-Manses, I think I said.
Yeah.
Wait. How many? Did I say?
Yeah, 10, because there was the 5 or 6 at the start, and then there was about the same amount around the corner.
Yep. Great.
So, is Lon one of the few ones living by themselves?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Interesting.
Actually, I
You
think
also haven't seen another Robin yet.
Faye's going to
Oh,
go
I thought
ahead.
every house had one.
They
Yeah, they
do.
told
I'm
us-
just saying you haven't seen another one
Oh,
yet.
okay.
You do know that each Creek-Mans has a Robin. You just haven't seen another one yet.
Faye is going to jump in on the whole, family unit thing and actually ask Lon, especially because as we kind of move through and we realize that Lon, do you live alone while others live in communion with one another?
Lon looks at you and then looks up and says, yes. Is that odd?
No. But it is unusual considering everybody else.
Ah.
We're really verging very close on you screwed up a perfectly good monkey and gave him anxiety territory.
I mean, yeah, I've already done that.
But for a whole group of people.
I fucking love it.
Look what you did. You gave him anxiety.
It's so good. That's exactly it. They're experiencing a tremendous existential crisis.
Sorry, your childhood fairy tale that you barely remember is inside your brain.
Yep.
Oh boy.
So yeah, Lon says, I don't. And then Lon looks at Vet. Yep. And says,
There he
and
goes.
asks, can you help me remember?
Definitely after I
Tomorrow?
rest. I feel bad being after I sleep, because I can just do that and you guys can't, but I need to rest. It won't take 2 weeks. It'll take a few hours. And then
Oh,
I can try to
that's
help
right.
you remember.
You told me in the groves. Yes, okay. I will wait,
The
but I will.
communication is all I can really do right now.
Okay. I will wait. It must take 2 weeks.
No.
We
Are
all
you sleeping tonight?
We all sleep at the same time.
Are your Creek-Manses secure during that time? You have no need for somebody keeping watch?
He looks at you and says, There has not been a problem before.
Gonna give them more anxiety.
No.
We should have been watching out for all this time.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yep. I mean, they've literally done this for hundreds of years. I'm
Right.
Yeah.
in no way.
Why should it be any different after 4 travelers have popped in from the past? And
That's
yeah,
Again,
a stable
you're
system.
you all giving
fucking
them
future
anxiety.
crocodile showing up at the speed of plot in a second.
But no, that means that Reuven and I will have 2 weeks to study the records that you have and diagnose and come up with potential solutions. Well, technically, Reuven will diagnose and come up with solutions, and I will make it happen.
And they say, you will stay here while we sleep?
Yes.
Unless you
if that
don't
is-
want us to? Yeah.
Yeah, if that is okay with you.
Faye is staying whether or not they're happy. They just told them nobody's keeping an eye out.
I know. You can do what you want. So
How long
Lon
did the
says,
fruits take to ripen?
Lon thinks, and he says, and they say, we feast once a year.
Do you only sleep for 2 weeks out of a whole year?
Oh God.
And then they nod slowly. And because it was normal, they'd forgotten how horrific that is.
That's
Yeah.
and
this
you
is-
see their face slacken. Not as though
Oh,
it's the
no.
first time they've realized it, but they're
Oh, no.
remembering
Getting it. Oh,
that,
no.
yes, they're remembering that this is a terrible affliction.
Oh God.
And it just makes them feel even more tired
I
than
think
they were before.
Reuven sees that on this man's face, on this person's face, and just like, barring any sort of distance of social customs and stuff, just walks over and gives this person a hug,
Ooh.
and just
So-
like as sweetly as a dragon person can say, like, we will make use of the 2 weeks while you sleep, and do our best to help you in whatever way we find possible.
You feel a slow tensing and then relaxation because Lon definitely has not been embraced in
Right.
God, you know.
Right. Yep.
And you feel the side of your face moisten as Lon leans their face against your own. And you hear a racking heave and a slow exhalation. Almost like they don't have the energy to cry.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oof.
We will fix this if it is at all in our power.
Fine.
Lon nods and says, I must prepare the chamber so that we all can rest.
Will the constructs, will Shore remain active?
And then Lon looks at you with a now kind of what seems like a sympathetic recognition of an additional sadness that they're about to say. And Lon says, Shore has never slept.
Oh no. I mean, that's maybe not bad for sure, but
Yeah, who knows, right?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe Shore would like to sleep.
I was just saying, Faye will go ahead and bring up, and it's like, I will see to.
You're gonna install a sleep subroutine in this fucking.
I will see to his rest and recovery, and see if what we are doing for you all can be done for Shore and his kin.
This is generous. We will owe you a great debt in return.
Before you sleep, do you know the story of the beanstalk?
Lon slowly squints and says, What beanstalk?
A beanstalk made of light, going up into the heavens.
And still, Lon hasn't yet relinquished Reuven's embrace. It's too good. If you haven't been hugged in centuries, there's no way you're gonna step out of a hug.
It's a tight long hug for sure.
Yeah. Especially because Lon put their arms around you slowly and then gradually increased pressure and gratitude, right? So reaching around, leaning around Reuven's face, Lon says, I believe few where we came from had not heard of that tale. What of it?
Can you tell me the story?
Lon nods and says, A dog longed to reunite with an old friend and waited patiently until it found the means to do so. But it was a dog, and dogs have limitations. 1 year after the dog found the means and decided to act despite its impatience, or sorry, not despite its limitations, it encountered and then Lon starts squinting.
Oh no.
4 experienced travelers.
Oh boy.
And then pauses, like they don't want to say more.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm also realizing now that those words may have capital letters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's become, there's a reasonable impression that this might have become a proper noun. And Lon didn't even realize when they were using it for you before that it had just become commonplace. So Lon briefly continues and says, there is more, but I think...
You can tell us in 2 weeks. We'll wait with bated breath.
I ain't holding my breath.
I think
Metaphorically.
perhaps you all should rest. I think it would help.
Lon nods. Yes.
What the fuck, bro? I thought we were on a new plot arc. I was like, yeah, it's like episodic.
It is a new plot arc. There's some shit happening.
Yeah.
I'm just reminding you what happened before. All right. Do we want to take a break here?
Yeah, we can do
I
that.
think that
Go ahead
makes
and run
sense.
the ad so it doesn't
Yeah.
Mhm.
interrupt us.
Cool. All right, let's do that.
Can come back, and it sounds like we're gonna have some like downtime narration projects. And
Yeah, you're
things.
gonna have stuff
So,
you can do. Lots of stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, and some of it can occur in downtime, some can occur actively. Like there's plenty of stuff for you all to do.
Yep.
But we can discuss that when you get back.
Cool.
Cool.
We'll
When
be
we
right
get
back.
We'll be back in a minute, folks. Zinkies. They're in quite a challenging state. And you four are going to have 2 weeks in which they will be unconscious. So they're still
Quick,
technically
Rob
go
them
ahead.
and run away.
Yep. Exactly. You have many options available. If you want to just, dip out.
Oh,
It is St. Patrick's Day, right? So
Oh.
perhaps it'd be appropriate
Be
to
the
perform
worst version of
an
yourself.
Irish goodbye.
Oh,
I just wanted to make the joke. Not to actually make a slur against the Irish. Just,
I mean,
I'll be honest. I prefer an Irish goodbye to a Midwestern goodbye.
oh, yeah. That's
Please just
fair.
leave.
So, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
You could dip out. You probably want to take stock of things, but you have some time now where you all can talk amongst yourselves and decide what's happening. So, what are your priorities?
We're taking a shepherding role to all these people, Faye, before starting any kind of work. Does a walk through the flotilla and basically makes sure that every elf is asleep. And I would guess all the exterior doors are closed, like a security check kind of thing. He's like, okay, hang on. If we're doing this, let me
I
check
love
on
that.
everybody.
I love the maternal imagery of like making sure they're tucked in and have a cup of water on the nightstand. And
Yeah,
little
that's
spoonful
right.
of peanut butter.
Yeah.
For Faye, it's far more of I'm about to do work with a capital W, and I do not want to be disturbed.
If you go through each of the Creek-Manses while they're connected to the flotilla, Shore would definitely follow you. And so you would iteratively encounter the other robins as they go through. Or they're actually not all robins. They look very similar, but they're clearly different songbirds, or at least inspired by different songbirds. Yeah, that's right. The variations are slight, but you would get the impression that they're probably originally inspired by different birds. They just are very similar in appearance. And Shore excitedly introduces you to each of them.
Do
But
the rest of them have names? Does Shore remember those now?
Shore doesn't know their names.
They need to be given names.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they know. But they're also less personable than Shore. That's a fair thing to say.
Less animate.
Yeah, I was
Yes,
thinking that
yes.
Shore might be a unique case of being so friendly.
Yeah,
Perhaps because Lon lives alone and that's his only company.
that's exactly right. And you can talk to Shore and the other birds about that if you want. So you can resolve that in character. It's totally up to you.
At least for now, if everybody is down for the count, Faye goes to Reuven, and I don't know that Reuven has ever seen Faye like gone from I'm curious, I want to do a thing to I am now about to begin the great work.
I mean, Reuven is definitely like supremely motivated by this
Right.
too. Like this is, and I think like all trappings of the like that like layer of irony of like, oh, in the game it would be like this sort of thing is gone from Reuven, right? It is it's like deadly serious. Like
Wow.
still I think I don't know, still processing, still especially that whole like were these people's fairy tale thing is like a big like holy what the hell is how do you even react to that sort of thing?
Yeah.
And so any sort of that like that residual like we did this to these people, I think that's not really lining up, but it's still like he's feeling very responsible for them and like yeah
That makes sense.
in a way that is so much more than like a quest in a game.
To start out, Faye makes a quick check of the different like silver platters, for lack of hard drives, and sees if one from a adjacent Creek-Manse can be used in Lon's Creek-Manse. Do they all scan?
Yeah.
Cool.
So you would notice this, right? And so I'll just briefly say, for the sake of clarity moving forward, they all go to sleep somewhat in unison. They all come in like they've done this before. Each of them eats a half of one of the geode. And it looks like that's a huge amount of them, right? They eat 50 halves of these geodes, right? And take a year to mature. So it's not like they're harvesting lots of them from the groves. But yeah, they take a while. So yeah, each of them eats a half of a geode, and they all go to sleep. So as you're proceeding through, yes, each of these hard drives seems compatible. Sure, when chatting with the other birds, gets them to find the other devices that you can use to activate them. However, you can bring them all back, and they're all cross-compatible. You can take any of them anywhere you want in any of the Creek-Manses. The desks are slightly different in some of these places. And you do notice slight alterations and variation in the decor, right? Although they're all have a pretty sparse things distributed around, some of them a slightly different shape or color in the images and the furniture. So yeah, go ahead. You can proceed. Is that Craig?
Good.
And so, Drew, yeah, you take them. Do you want to know like other things that are there?
Basically, at this point, it's we're going to set up Grand Central Station, which is probably Lon's place, because by him being by himself, going to be the best place, and it's where we started. And working with Reuven, and we're cataloging all these, seeing if we have duplicates, and is just like super methodical engineer plus scientist. We're gonna break this shit down.
Yeah, I think the first question Reuven would try and find out is, are they sets of like identical
cool, yeah,
bookshelves, or are they like different sets of plans? Are they meant to be different like stations, parts of society? Like that inkling of like Lon's by himself puts in Reuven's head like a leadership role or like a priest or something. And so it would not surprise Reuven if there are more things or more important things in his, so to speak, shelf.
That makes complete sense. And yes, your expectations are validated in that way. The only instances of covering delayed senescence and restoring fertility are in Lon's bookshelf. These are all split up among the 10 Creek-Manses. You notice that some of them seem more focused on important technology. Like in Lon's place, there was a lot of biological stuff. At first, it might have seemed loosely connected. Like, why would there be things dealing with human physiology and then stuff dealing with like simple farming? Despite the fact that it's all in the context of biology, yes, right? We all know, especially in our reality, right? A horticulturalist is not the same thing as a research physician, right? And there's a reason why there's a separation in the focus on those specialties, those specializations. So you see that. You see in other places there are people who are dealing with infrastructure, formal infrastructure. There's stuff about building, right? One of the Creek-Manses has to do with harnessing fuel. One of the Creek-Manses has to do with transportation. And one of the Creek-Manses has to do with time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a drive that when you pop it up. I'm going to give you some information, and then there's information you wouldn't be able to yet glean from this. So this is the reason why I'm not offering a roll for it. Is that there is something having to do with understanding place in time. And it is arcane. So it's not just like a chronometer. It is. What does it mean? Yes. What does it mean to have a specific location within space-time?
Interesting. Well.
And yeah, there's other things there as well that I'm not detailing, but you can assume is there like water purification and establishing electricity, like I said, with power, right, and infrastructure, and all of these things. Like you, in the course of assembling this stuff, and I'd like to assume that if you're going through it very carefully and talking between each other, it probably takes you like 3 or 4 hours just to get them all together and just slot them to read and look very carefully, right? So you two know what you have in front of you. You have effectively, right, everything that 50 people would need if they were going to restart human civilization. Provided they had enough resources, of course, right? But this seems packaged as not the bare minimum, a good one, yeah. A good one. Yeah, this isn't subsist. This is you move a capsule of people somewhere so they can restart the planet. But none of it seems post-apocalyptic, right? None of it is written from the perspective of now that the apocalypse has come, this is what you do. It is devoid of any reflections.
It's more like a colony plan.
Has come. Yes, exactly. It is a colony plan.
How does that strike Faye with all the Convergence logos on it?
That's because like if these are colonists that have been sent by the Convergence, not mad because they might not themselves be Convergence members, but merely pawns. But yeah, I think Faye's.
Do you bring up these concerns?
Yeah, because that's what I've been tinkering in my head. Like once there's the like we get everything organized, then get more things, and we realize I got to change the organization around. Finally, we're complete. Faye looks at everything. Okay, I'm up for helping these people, but I need something from you. Actually, you know, all three of you. If these turn out to be Convergence members who were not duped into something, but were willingly going off to start some new Convergence. Oh, what are they called? They're not towers, are they, Ralph? But I feel like the Convergence have a specific name for their little faction groups.
Oh, yeah, it was like a polluted comparison with a clave.
Right.
Right. It was what do we call them? Did we call them clusters?
Convergence. What page are you on? 216. Yeah, they have like a specific group like of things, but yeah, regardless, if they're trying to set up a new one, then basically Faye's like, I'm not letting them continue that way. How we resolve that is kind of up to all of you. Not restoring their memories, giving them partial memories, leaving them frozen like this. But I'm not turning a new Convergence stronghold into an open area that they could effectively rule and come up with, looks at his arms, terrible experiments. all by themselves, all alone.
Hmm.
It's not a decision we need to make now, but I need you all to promise to me if they turn out to be bad eggs, we put a stop to whatever's going on. Regardless if, oh, the poor things, they haven't slept for a year. Like, I mean, I feel bad, but if they are bad, then...
As they are now, they are people that need our help. If after receiving our help, they are no longer people that need our help, then we can have that conversation. But I'm not going to stay my hand if I have the opportunity to help these people.
Also, I don't know how I feel about punishing them now for who they might have been untold ages ago.
They're called sanctums, Ralph.
That's right. Yes, there we go.
And
Thank
no,
you.
Faye agrees. If these people are restored, or especially if they were pawns and they didn't know what was happening, then absolutely let's recover them, restore them, fix them. But if they come back and we flip a switch on, or then as you are restoring memories and it turns out that they are Convergence members, we need to decide what to do, because if you give them their memories back and they come back as Machiavellian mustache twirling assholes, do you still feel like restoring them?
I don't know how someone could come through this experience and not be a person.
That is my
And
hope
so
too, but
I understand that you have a history with these people, but I'm not going to preemptively promise to inflict punishment upon them in the absence of any actual misdeeds.
Also, I don't know that I would wish this on the worst person.
It's kind of where Ruben lands too. Like, we will continue to talk about things as they develop, but I don't know that I can promise to. Like Blaze says, I don't know that I can preemptively promise to punish or lay waste to these people if they're somehow were different people in their past.
and let me restate. Do you promise that if they turn out to be bad eggs, we will stop them? If we see that this is going in a downhill direction, that we pump the brakes and don't continue through with the plan.
I think that seems
Yeah.
more reasonable.
Okay, let's get cracking. And Faye is going directly to the basic amenities, because the idea of like, wait, water purification? What have we been drinking?
Is there any sort of like meta manual?
An index?
Not
Yeah.
even like a an ordering of these things. I like prioritized sort of index or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, what happens is this: if you start discussing the possibility of a manual like that, Shore has been sitting on the desk watching you this whole time, in his silly legs splayed out
no.
position with the wings down, right? It's like watching, right? And then you talk about a manual, And then Shore says, I am the manual.
Of course you are.
Table of contents.
And then Shore starts reciting a table of contents for you.
Okay, this got a little bit easier.
First steps.
Yeah, I was gonna say 101.
Shore moves around like this, right leg still on the ground, the silly sitting position, and says, first steps after crossing the expanse include activating, and then he says a designation code for a very simple manual. And he says, erecting the Creek-Manses.
Okay.
Creek-Manses transported in, and then he describes simple, like what you get the impression is like they were transported in some boxes and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And they pop them up. And ascertaining local dangers. Following that, acquiring food. Local food, or he says, as in keeping with Convergence protocol, colonies are only established in places scouted far in advance. Therefore, local food should be abundantly available.
Okay.
Step 2. And then Shore looks quizzically
Doesn't believe the words
then-
about to come out of his mouth.
and says, Step 2.
Oh no.
Okay, sure.
Oh, no.
What is step
Step 2.
3?
Step 2. Step 3. Profit.
Oh no.
Don't read chat, Ralph. Don't do it.
I didn't. I just figured somebody would have said it. But I said, no, Shore doesn't say step 3 profit.
Step 3 is question
Sure.
mark, question mark, question mark.
Yes, indeed. Step 3, Shore says. Step 3, restore senescence. Restore fertility.
Okay. So sure. What's step 2?
Step 2 is
Sure. Has somebody edited or changed the table of contents?
Shore hops up and says, this one will access memories. And then says, access memories. This one will access memory buffer. And Shore says, protocols last accessed.
Oh no.
And he's scrolling through.
Oh no.
And he says, protocol. You can tell he's shocked. Protocols last access. And he inclines his head. 798 years.
Oh no.
Okay.
And then he perks up. And he says, Shore has found access point.
Very good.
Shore detects harmonic disturbance.
Harmonic, you say?
Then Shore goes over to the slot and pokes his
Plugs
beak into
himself
it.
in.
Yes.
Oh no.
Baby.
And you start seeing a feed of his like he had cyber eyes, right? You see seeing a feed of his memories. And you see them, you see all of the elves crossing what you can now tell in sharper relief is the ice scream. And this jagged, what looks like field of scintillating, clinking glass, floating glass obelisks. And they're walking through, and they're all carrying some pack, right? Many of them are carrying these like kind of elliptical, oblong, almost like there's a pod in their back, right? Carrying equipment of some kind.
Creek-Manses.
Yes, exactly. You can assume this is probably the Creek-Manses. They were like folded up inside or something like that. And they're all walking through, and their clothing looks relatively similar. So it's possible that they just have super durable clothes and they just lasted, nearly a millennium.
Right.
Or somehow they had extra. Who knows, right? But you see this market date, and this is what he says. Right, so who knows exactly when it is, right? Because his timing could have started over at a certain point, and what happened is that this is 798 years from when it happened, right? But who knows actually how much time passed since you all went into, or since you all were at the Omphalos. But anyway, so they're walking through, and all of a sudden, one of them trips and bumps into one of the obelisks.
It's always the obelisks.
Yep. And that obelisk slowly floats over, and one of them looks over to try and grab it in horror and isn't able to do it in time. And it hits another one, and you start hearing this faint hum. And they start slowly moving around and clinking off each other. And this hum rises in intensity and changes in pitch, and all of a sudden it sounds like ice is screaming throughout this canyon. So things phase out a little bit. The next thing you see is they're walking, and the sound is going. It is less intense as it was before, possibly because Shore has activated some kind of like sonic buffer, but they're all walking in a catatonic state. And they're near the far side of this canyon. And they start walking out of it. And Shore is still plugged in. And after that video, you now see an access menu. And there's a virtual keyboard, like it is when you access the hard drives.
Okay.
So if you so choose, you could access Shore's protocols.
Sure, you can get up.
Well, I want to find step 2.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's something he couldn't do. Okay.
So yeah, what do? You start rooting around in Shore's brain?
I would love to maybe make a understanding Numenera roll.
Yeah.
Like,
Go ahead.
both to understand like the data I'm looking at, but also what sort of harmonic screaming ice thing could have just happened. And
Yeah.
I'd like
It was
to solve a puzzle.
Sounds good.
Also, it sounds really familiar, does it not?
Yeah.
Except it's above ground.
I wonder. Sound. What's going on with sound being so
It's not the
important?
ice cream, it's the mirthless mire.
That. Ooh.
Sure.
Hey, I like that. Yeah, so it was difficulty 8 before. It is only difficulty 6 here. You get to repeat it.
Damn.
Yep.
Love to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because you are viewing the phenomenon up
Mhm.
close. You're seeing what happened. Look at that. Look at that, of course. Of course. Come on. That's all you needed.
I was gonna only do 2 levels of effort, and then I got
Mhm.
scared, and I would have only barely passed on if I needed a 6 because I got a 7. It's like, oh no.
I wasn't watching and I heard Ralph say, of course. I was like, oh no. Okay.
Oh, Okay.
All right.
It cost me some points here.
So you have heard
Mhm.
in your travels of what are called sonic obliviators, which are like wind chimes that people
Oh.
put up in certain places that they can use to erase the memories of people who come snooping around or people who are doing stuff,
Great.
right? That some strange Numenera device that draws power from, I don't know, geomagnetism. It's hard to tell, right? But some items that, when created of a translucent crystal, when they are hit, they emit a sound that erases people's memories temporarily. You know that with increased exposure over time, that effect compounds. So, in your experience, right, and having encountered one of these, perhaps in a clave or in your training, it was a tool that people use sometimes in interrogation. Not that the Aeon priest would necessarily use it, but this is a device is known that you have a conversation with somebody, you hit that, you let it ring for long enough, maybe you can erase the last 10 minutes of their memory, right? You also know that that these were once used or claimed to have been used as a method of protecting the secrets of a civilization. Because hey, you got a small cottage or something with secret Numenera, you want to make sure that if anybody comes in, they make a mistake in trying to approach, they're definitely not going to remember anything and they can't get out.
Hey.
So you would surmise
This-
that.
Reversible.
You know that many of the things that people lose are only reversible within a certain length of time. However, there are fragments left behind, because what this effectively does is like breaking up ice on a glacier or in an ice flow. It fragments people's memories so that they can no longer access them. And for most people, that means that they're functionally gone forever. And it's much easier to break up a memory than it is to eliminate it completely. And so
But
that's why
they-
Vet was able to get Lon to remember certain stuff, because a lot just got broken up. So, Reuven believes that they might be able to get some of these people to remember important things about themselves. But they won't be able to get them to remember everything. And yep, go ahead.
Data should be a lot easier to piece back together.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yep. So you would be confident that if it's not rooting around in Shore's brain, but if you were to access even just the base menu, right, and try and
Mhm.
look for, if you want to defragment, right?
Right.
You know, if we want to use a modern day term,
Right.
you could probably restore Shore to functionality.
Cool.
More like re-indexing.
Yes, exactly. There we
You
go.
build your link
Re-indexing.
table. Yeah.
Yep. Build it up for him.
And
Yep.
Yeah.
Step 2's there. You just couldn't access
in a
it.
manner of speaking, it's letting him rest.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly right.
Mhm.
Shore needs to sleep. if someone had put Shore to sleep, you now suspect
Reboot.
they might not have had the same problems.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And so there's a sleep protocol that you can engage from the base menu. It's right there. But these people forgot everything there is to do
Right.
with all of their stuff. So Lon didn't know what to do.
They had enough to like get started because.
Yep.
Damn.
Yep.
So it only took out step 5.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well,
Let him sleep.
let him sleep.
Before you do so, either. Well, actually, no. I think Faye is going to go ahead and walk through. And it's like, okay, cool. What's step 4?
Ooh, okay, cool. So restore fertility. Step 4 is have children. And these are big steps, right? Obviously,
Right, yeah.
right? The first step is small because it's, hey, you got to get established, right? You don't know what the second step is. Step 3 is like restore fertility and senescence, right? Step 4 is have children, right? Step 5 is return.
Could you elaborate, Shore?
Yes, and
So
so
this is us looking.
This is- yeah. This is you looking through it. Yeah, and so you can probe as much as you want. When you access step 5 return, it is return. So this the ice scream, right? They're calling it that because that's how they remember it.
Mhm.
Like screaming ice. That's the only thing that they can really recall, right? However, it wasn't called that before they got there.
The Expanse.
Yes, it was called the Expanse. So, step 5 is return across the Expanse and aid those who have fallen. And your access ensures memories. So Shore has information that suggests that no. All right. These people came from a colony of the Convergence. And it seems like they were being, some of this stuff was kept from them, from the Convergence. It seems like they were being persecuted unto down. So they were fleeing across the Expanse to hold up and wait and come back to try and aid anyone who had survived.
Can we get details on the nature of them being persecuted?
Sure. Their assailants kind of hid their identities. However, the information that Shore has is this. At first, they noticed that their crops had poor yields. They noticed strange geological disturbances in the area. Then they noticed people being killed directly. And the only thing ever left behind was a single slash in an object, rendered like this is a signature you can recognize as some kind of symbol or signature. But it's,
Zorro-esque.
yes, yeah, not a Z, but like a very stylized hyphen or acute accent, right? The edges are distinct. This is a recognizable symbol. You would hypothesize that perhaps somebody put it on there with a brand, or a machine did it with a sword, right? Because it is a gouge that's put into an object that can receive it, right? And the edges are colored in magenta. So somehow that's what's left behind.
This seems like we might be getting too deep into the weeds.
A little bit, but for Faye, this number of people was already a bit of a red flag. well, not quite a red flag, more of the green flag, because like the actual Convergence members, there's like 100 in a sanctum.
Okay.
So if there's 50 of these folks, that's like half of them. But if they were running from being attacked, it is quite possible that these were all laborers, engineers. The Convergence does stuff, will grab up slaves and stuff like that. So there is a possibility that they're not actually top folks. And if they had the idea to leave and then go back, then maybe they'll be okay.
Okay.
What else do you look for?
I think for Faye, he's good. Like he can interact with Shore like on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
So he is good, but
Yeah, you get the impression from those steps that this is entirely designed to wait out something, prevent death of whatever this civilization community was, and then come back. And who knows how long that was supposed to be. You would probably...
You would assume less than 800 years.
Yes, exactly. You assume that they've been gone far longer than they originally intended.
Okay. We can maybe abstract a little bit now.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what you'd like to do. Totally.
Send Shore into a little sleepy time and start planning out.
Yeah. I'm curious
what to fix.
Our other party members have thoughts and plans about and stuff. I feel like we've been talking a little bit.
I mean, I'm definitely done with letting you guys deal with all of the tech. I feel like that would be chatting with the other birds.
Ooh, okay, cool.
Like, asking permission to do a telepathy with them as well.
Oh, yeah.
And learning what I can from them.
Yeah.
Also, because if the different libraries have different specializations, I'm assuming it's something similar.
Yeah,
That like these
totally.
guys are the keepers of their library.
Yeah. You would learn, engaging them, that Shore is the only one with a good bedside manner.
I was hoping that by talking to them, I could make them friendlier as well, but
They get more animate, for sure. But Shore is weird in that
It's like
way.
3PO is the only polite protocol droid in the entire Star Wars universe.
That's
Shore
right.
is the only
Very
polite.
true.
oh, do the other ones behave like birds?
Yes, they do behave like birds.
Whereas Shore
They said
behaves
correctly.
like a person.
Yes, exactly. Shore
Has
acts like a person in
human
a bird
mannerisms and a bird body.
body. Yeah. Yep, that's right. The rest of them have bird behavior, but they talk to you, so. And yeah, what do you want to know? I'm happy to, you can get them to reveal lots of stuff. We can do it in character. It's entirely up to you. What would you prefer?
I don't know. Mostly, I think Vet was trying to see if she could make them more friendly and open instead of being automatons, kind of.
Okay, yeah.
But if it took Shore 800 years to get there, I don't know if she's going to make much progress in 2 weeks.
I'd say, yeah, if you want to abstract what happens over the course of 2 weeks, I can tell you what happens. They all at first act like, kind of like a flock of birds would act, right? When you come in and try and talk to them. They do start exhibiting different traits and different mannerisms over time as you repeatedly engage them, especially if you're intentional, as I'd like to assume you are, especially if you're intentional about engaging each of them differently. They start responding to different social cues because you use different social cues. Also, I imagine it'd be reasonable to assume that you rely on a partial assistance of your trash griffin. perhaps illustrating certain principles about what you want them to do
Mhm.
by communicating with your trash griffin. And they start acting more like curious animals as opposed to frightened facsimiles of animals.
Okay.
And they become more forthcoming in the information that they share. So these are the things that you learn. You learn that each of the people, through interacting with these birds, you learn that each of these people who are sleeping, in addition to having different technical responsibilities as part of this group of 50, they have different social responsibilities. So some of them have responsibilities for retaining comedy. Some of them have responsibilities for sharing and maintaining empathy. Some of them have responsibilities for teaching people self-care. So taking time and being patient. Some of them have responsibilities for being mean. And what I mean by that is to remind people to insert firm boundaries and also show people what the consequences are when you do not manage your own feelings. So, like, have any of you read The Giver or seen the movie, the adaptation? So you know that notion of, hey, it's now the responsibility of a single human being to retain all human emotion because human emotion is challenging. Each of these people are tasked with managing their own feelings, but also representing some of the challenges of the human
Subset.
experience.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, a subset of all of those. So there's someone who reminds people what unkindness is, so that people can remember how important it is to be kind.
Wild.
Yeah.
Necessary.
Yeah. So,
If you're rebooting society, yeah.
right? Hey, it's the gamut of human feelings and experiences. So you have to represent it somehow. These contrasts are important. And yeah, and there's also someone who's responsible for recreation. And what I mean by that is someone who's responsible for games. And that bird seems hyper competitive with the others.
Of course.
And that isn't clear to you until you start engaging it, right? And then it wants to know more, and it almost starts trying to compete with you and answering questions quickly and behaving a certain way. So
Trying to answer questions before you've asked them.
yes.
Yeah.
I know what that is.
To get a good grade in questions.
Yes. So it's up to you which of these traits you encourage here or there, but you learn these things about the people, and their birds reflect them as well. So, and that gives you some insight that perhaps Lon, right, was a really personable individual, and they just haven't been able to share that. Also, one of them lets slip, the one that represents gullibility, or the one that's connected to the person who is responsible for representing like optimistic naivete, asks if you're going to be able to find Lon's partner.
Can I try to get more information on who that is? Or
Sure.
what happened to them?
From whom are you going to try and?
Oh, from the one that mentioned that.
Oh, okay, gotcha. They'll say they
It
were
sounds
lost.
like they're holding out hope I can find them.
Mhm.
They were lost.
They were lost sometime.
Do you know what their role was?
They look at each other. They look around, and they say, their role was hope.
Oh. Well, podcast folks, we just all visibly winced.
We will do everything we can to find them.
That would be good. That would be good. That would be good. That would be good.
It was like all
And then the competitive bird's like, I'll find him.
On
I
it.
found him so hard.
Go.
Is there any information on the circumstances of their disappearance?
They say that they haven't been seen for 100 years.
How do you think these people learned about the whale fall?
That's a possibility. I'd hope that there's. Oh. Yeah, that might be a problem.
We can teach them what hope is.
The competitive one says, I know what hope is.
Explain.
And then the beak opens
Yep.
and closes.
Nose in the corner. Listen, there's going to be a
Walks
know-it-all. It's going to be Reuven.
And walks over.
We put this bird in timeout.
Faye has no problem dealing with staff and organizing them.
Go to your cage.
Yeah. And hops up on a little perch. Sits there.
Covers its head with its wings.
Yes.
Oh, what was that? What fisher bird? Is it fisher bird? What is that?
They're-
Karen's.
Yeah.
You think
Well,
of kingfishers?
No, the ones that specifically they do that.
Yeah,
Parents do it so they can
it's
see
several-
through the water.
They make it dark,
Yeah.
The fish
so the
want to be
fish
there.
hide in the shade,
Mm.
and they can spear them.
Oh,
It
yeah,
also
that's
helps
right.
them see
Yeah,
Mm.
no
So not like-
glare.
Oh yeah, they
glare and refraction and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. If you want to impale somebody on your mouth parts, gotta make sure you can see clearly.
He knew what he said.
Mm-hmm. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. Dragonfly nymphs do the same
What
thing.
is
Prehensile. though.
Blaze gonna do in 2 weeks?
Blaze may go running and looking for hope.
Blaze running and looking for hope. That's a beautiful phrase.
I love the poetry of it. Blaze pesters Reuven a couple times about the thing he said about satisfaction, and I don't think he gets a satisfactory answer because I don't think Chris remembers what he said.
No.
So he's gonna find a waterfall somewhere
Ooh, cool.
and just
Yep.
sort of spend some time contemplating in the waterfall.
Ooh.
There's a lot going on in Blaze's head, which is unusual for him.
Right.
He's in a world that doesn't present any obvious challenges.
Mhm.
Any like direct physical.
Physical,
challenges,
yeah.
Yeah. Like there's nothing to fight. There's no challenges to overcome really, unless he creates them. But then he's creating them. He's just testing himself against his imagination, not the world. So he's trying to contemplate that through the lens of whatever it was that Reuven said about satisfaction. You have to find your own satisfaction or something.
Mm.
So he spends a lot of time just contemplating, sitting in a waterfall, letting the water wash over him to just sort of like,
Okay. I think I remember now.
Faye's
What do you
gonna.
remember?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I mean I just
Okay.
I remember saying something along those lines.
Ah, gotcha.
Faye
And,
is gonna chat with with Blaze, and because it's his buddy and he's having a hard time, and says, "First question: do you want me to get the bat?"
No.
Okay. Because I know sometimes you prefer our conversations when I'm hitting you, and I prefer our conversations when I'm hitting you. But I am
That's a
realizing.
wonderful friendship.
Listen, he needs things, I need things, it works out.
if you want to hit me, you can.
No, the physical effort might actually distract me. I was actually thinking, while these Creek-Manses are currently secure, and I'm not one to be so crass as to think that you would enjoy menial guard duty, when they wake up and we are encouraging them to move forward with their lives, they may need guards. And they may need training to be guards. Because for all the equipment and all the things that I can build for them, somebody will need to do training. and provide practical experience.
I'm not really much of a teacher.
Yet, are you backing down from a challenge, Blaze?
Ooh.
It usually look like I know what you're doing and fuck you, it's working.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
I can try to speak to their spirits and see if I can awaken them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know you have skills. I know you have a regimen. I know you have training. And I also know, while not an exact comparison, teaching provides as much and more experience than training alone. Instead of learning things by rote and just following the leader, now you have to delve deeper into a study, into a topic, to understand it greater in order to pass it on.
So you've seen this a couple times. Blaze has skipped a groove somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've just said something profound out of just normal comment. Okay. If I get and there won't be enough to do or much to do for 2 weeks. Is there some way I can be of use until then?
I'm sure we will definitely find some use, but in between those, when we need more, when we don't need your physical specimen, or help while you are helping us, I'm going to challenge you to plan and use your brain and be less reactionary. Plan ahead for in 2 weeks when the elves awaken. And the other thing is, the other 3 of us are emotionally compromised, and you may provide a centering balance.
2 things. Why are you emotionally compromised? And if you're looking to me to guide through a difficult social interaction, you are in deep trouble.
Oh no, I'm not asking you to. Oh, I'm not asking you to guide anybody through a social thing.
Okay.
I'm asking you to provide something that will wear them the hell out physically.
Oh, them.
Yes.
Okay.
Provide them training, provide them centering, perhaps guide them through meditation and poetry, which they have not had in 800 years, Blaze.
There's no poetry in their storage devices?
Sure, but they haven't had it for 800 years.
They don't know how to read them.
They make you look technologically advanced, Blaze.
He spends a couple seconds trying to work out if that's an insult or a compliment, but then decides that's a wasted effort anyway, and throws away the calculation.
Beside the point. Yep.
Yep.
I will see what I can come up with.
Absolutely. And if you want somebody to bounce some ideas off of, Vet is there anytime you want to chat with her.
Incredible.
It's so good.
So I
Need
got
someone
what
to
I
talk
wanted out of
to.
this.
There's someone
I'm
else.
I'm gonna inflict him on that.
On the telepath, folks, on the telepath. If Blaze is having hard time verbalizing something, Vet can get to the core of it.
Yeah. Of course. That will know. That's why.
Yep.
Ruben
Craig, I love you.
does, probably not in the same conversation, but at some point Ruben does perhaps lean on Blaze that if they have spare time in this 2 weeks, that scouting out the area and finding other sources of food besides these fruit may be necessary, because if these people are on a normal metabolism, they're going to need ample food for 50 people.
Right. Way
It
more
won't
than
put them to sleep for 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Oh well, they have books on agriculture. Do they have any information on seed stores?
Yeah, they do.
If we
When
can
you ask about a seed store, you know what Shore says? We have copious seeds.
Mm-hmm.
This one knows where they are. And Shore flies up to the top, and you hear like a rustling, and then a metal box comes like bouncing down the stairs.
That's their whole Evo.
I mean, that could be a lot.
And
The size of the box.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, so this is like 3 pounds. So it comes bouncing on the stairs because Shore pushed it off the edge, and so it could bounce down the stairs. And Shore flies up, and then again sits on the ground in his posture, right?
Fucking bird. So his posture did not get fixed by rebooting.
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope. Still a weird little guy.
He's picked up
He-
mannerisms from being personable with Lon.
He
Yep.
re-indexed and defragmented,
Right.
but it didn't erase what he had
Right.
acquired in 800 years of being weirdo with Lon.
Being the only bird that gets talked to like a person.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Is there any tech to that box, or is it just a box?
It's a box, and then Shore says, Shore can not this one because he's Shore. Shore can show you how to access it.
When we're ready. We don't want to do things out of order, right?
Good.
Yes.
And noted.
On your point, just for a bit, because I wanted to get this in before, but we got distracted. Place to face. So, are you sure you want me to train these Convergence people how to fight?
Yep.
It'll make it a lot harder to put them down if you decide that's what we have to do.
If you manage to train them that fast, that well, then I probably deserve whatever backlash I get from this. The other thing is, and I really emphasize this, I really want you to get into your beliefs about this and really impart that on them.
Cool. That's a great idea.
There's also, I don't know if Faye would bring this up, having found it out with Ruben, but like, there's going to be core parts of memories and things that might be permanently gone from these people. Like, you said it's not just like what happened. It's not just the memory of those, like, whatever time on the ice field, it's like other parts too, right?
Yeah.
So,
Because they were in it for a long time.
Right.
It just and
It's
it was
scrambled
really
more.
intense. Yes,
They're going to be
exactly.
permanently altered from who they
Yes.
were before this expanse.
What
So-
Reuven
Yeah.
thinks is it would take multiple Aeon priests, decades per person, to restore all of their memories.
Yeah, whereas when they wake up,
Which, like,
Vet's gonna try
Makes sense.
to get like a bit.
Yeah, that's gonna get some stuff. You know, the stuff that's easier to connect.
and for Faye's purposes, or sort of perhaps biases, that's almost a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a hard disconnect of Convergence to these people as
Yeah.
they're restored. So
Because also Vet doesn't know anything about a convergence, so I
Mhm.
cannot make those
Yep.
connections for them.
That's right. Exactly. They're going to be solely dependent upon what you think is important.
Mhm.
Which, in a way, is really nice. That, you know, you are a part of a fairy tale they heard about as a kid. And nearly a millennium later, you've returned in their minds, you know, in their experience or whatever's going on for them, right? To help them find themselves once again.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions for you all.
Okay.
If that's all right. The first is no one's talked about going out at night yet. So if anyone wants to do that, okay, cool. No night activity, sounds good. The second question is you're going to have these 2 weeks of downtime, and then potentially there could be a lengthened downtime if you so desire that
Right.
gets resolved between now and the next session or during the next session. So there's some stuff I want to tell you right now to think about depending upon what your answer might be to that question. How do you think you want to handle it?
Honestly, considering the time and because we have a week off,
Yep.
we could probably handle this in chat, kind of write up, work through some stuff, and then when we come in,
kind of come
to-
back and narrate what
Yeah.
happens over the whole span of time.
Okay, cool.
I think that
cool.
sounds good, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. That makes sense to me. How much time do you want to pass? You want to figure that out?
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that might be
Sure. That's okay
right
with
now,
me.
at
No worries.
least 2 weeks.
That's a question that requires more data before answering.
Yeah,
All right, sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
definitely 2 weeks at least. That way we can.
But yeah,
Jump
but kind of like a, I don't know if we want to like narrate like a sort of like beginning of a montage, but like just like going step by step and figuring out like what we should do while they are asleep. Because if we like, Reuven's very worried about like turning these people back on and then having them die while they're asleep for 2 weeks because
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah.
this like we have no idea what this yellow fruit does to someone that is like has
Yeah.
a normal metabolism and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And
What's
so
the
maybe
consequence?
maybe experiment of that is
That's what I was
one
thinking.
of us-
Like maybe
one of us tries it.
Yeah, I would volunteer to eat a
Mm-hmm.
cube out of it.
See what happens.
See what
A
happens.
small, a small dose on someone with a normal metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Because we
Mhm.
ate an unripe one,
yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
made us taste colors.
Yep, that's right. You tasted purple with the one you ate.
But
Yeah.
So yeah, just starting in on as Drew said, the work. But I think we all have like interesting things that we're like specifically focused on, and then the group as a whole, I think, is on a good arc. Focused.
Absolutely.
thing.
So, yeah, if you want to sort of end it there, I'll tell you, we can imagine this. As this montage scene proceeds, Vet is conversing with the other birds. Blaze is sitting under a waterfall pondering. Faye is racking his thoughts and commitments as he has chosen the path of kindness and generosity with people who are clearly associated with Convergence, even if they weren't leaders.
While holding a
Right.
big machete behind his back.
I was gonna say with his hand on his gun. Yes.
And I'd like to imagine that Reuven is trying to make inroads against that that sense of guilt and responsibility by trying to restore to people what they lost inadvertently in their passage to try and save others. And
I think depending on how this goes, it honestly could be like extremely like therapeutic sounds kind of weird, but like
Mhm.
very much so
Sounds
for,
right to me.
for Reuven. Like
Yeah.
a firm sense of purpose in the real world is something that has like eluded Reuven for a long time,
ooh, yeah,
right?
that makes sense. I think this is a nice way to find it.
Has never processed their grief of like coming out of the game essentially.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, like I think they fully just throw themselves fully into this, and every bit of knowledge they've learned about Numenera and tech and everything like
Mhm.
goes into like I gotta help these people.
That's wonderful. I think it's really beautiful. So the last little bit of thing you notice as that's proceeding is once you have let Shore sleep for a day and reindex and defragment, they have been able to, or he has been able to re-access his store of music he has on his person. And so as this montage is going, every now and then he's like dancing by, like hopping by with his mouth open with music playing out of
Music
his
playing
beak.
Got some
Yeah.
Guardians of the
Incredible.
Galaxy
Yes,
like intro. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Like montage, 80s montage music
Yep.
with his wings out, like dancing around.
Whatever the Ninth World
Periodically,
equivalent of it is.
Yes.
No, it's still 1980s.
yeah.
It has survived.
That's right.
In a billion years of human existence, we will never, ever reach the peak of music that was the 1980s.
We will
again.
never, ever stop believing.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right. It's just the 8-bit version of Journey coming at his peak as he's moving around.
We're doing the 8-bit version, just to be clear, right, Craig?
Yeah.
This,
Okay. Because we're going to have words about hating on Journey.
this classic ancient religious song talks about how the wheel in the sky keeps on
It's on turning. Oh, good stuff.
Bingo.
Just
Wonderful.
imagining Ninth World cassette players.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right. Exactly. Be fantastic. These
Oh boy.
Numenera retro clones.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly hip record stores.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still just final. All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone, so much for watching. I thank you all for playing. Your characters is fantastic and engaging. The story, really having a great time.
One roll all night.
Oh, that's
I
right.
mean, I didn't roll at all.
I think I was the only one. right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll try and make sure you have more opportunities.
Yeah, there you go. No, it was great.
Oh,
Dude,
good,
it's
yeah.
some of my best sessions
Yeah,
of my life
I-
have got no rolls.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
I've been trying to wrangle this dog.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we'll let you do that soon. So thank you all out there for watching us, podcast land, YouTube land, Twitch land. Any of you who aren't on the Discord and would like to join us there, you can do so at yeetinto.space. If you would like to have your name read off like any of the other esteemed cultists, you can. You can find that at wait a minute, staylucky.club. Sorry everyone, forgive me for a moment. Once again, we want to thank Roll20, our Patreons, and Monica Games for creating the cipher system. This is Numenera Rising Helix. We'll be back with another entry into the ongoing plot in about 2 weeks. Got that right? So there's plenty of content in the interim. You can catch up on the Rookery if you haven't listened to that. You can listen to the Richmond Chronicle. You can listen to many of the one-shots we did before we started Into the West. You can listen to Into the West. Or if you just jumped into this and you haven't listened to this yet, you can start at episode 0 and you'll be
Also
caught up.
got
So you can start listening.
Star Trek and Geist.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Blades in the Dark.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Yep, all the one-shots.
we also have on our Discord, there are several community members that post their links to their own sessions and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of good reading there.
Some good reading and some good
Videos.
as well.
Mhm.
So feel free to drop on in, check those out, and go find something else to listen to too. Because we don't demand that you be monogamous with us.
Quite true. Don't need to be.
Ollie Podcastian?
Something like that.
I don't know. We'll see you all next time.
All right. Stay
Bye.
curious. Later.